All right, we're recording, cause of
Okay. Go ahead and.
so.
Oh,
So
we're live.
yeah, we're live.
Okay.
So yeah, welcome everybody who's watching now. It's been a while since
Yeah,
we
it's been
last
a while.
recorded.
Yes.
So yeah, I haven't seen you, cause of where you
Yeah.
been?
Hey. What's hey? ¿Qué hules? ¿Qué onda? Órale. All right. That was awkward. I was just kidding. All right. Hey. Hello, everybody out there. Of course, this is. My name is Peter. This is my primo, cousin, refugio. Somos los primos.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we don't even have a hand sign.
Oh, that's right. Well,
okay. All right. We'll work on
did
that.
I say wait? Oh, anyways, yeah.
Well,
I thought we
yeah.
had said something.
Yeah. ¿Qué tranza con la raza? No, we didn't say that. Right. That's another one.
Yeah.
Motto change. What was our motto? Oh God, we've been out for a while.
No, it's it's sketching house pasta. Remember?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
movimiento.
Movimiento. Oh,
So,
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, folks.
And look, like that's the camera. I think the camera is somewhere in there. So like look that direction. 'Cause
Oh.
then it'll look like you're looking. Your eyes won't be look like cross-eyed. Instead of that, if you look here. So. So we're learning as we go here.
Yeah, fascinating. But I can't see, so I gotta put my glasses back on. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, very good. Okay, so today our podcast is gonna be about what, cousin?
Women's Day, right? International Women's Day.
Which was on Friday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
God, we suck at this. Yes. I think it was
It's all
Friday.
experimental.
Yes, it was Friday. All right, so as we know, Friday was International Day of the Women
Mm-hmm.
and all across the world was celebrated the woman. So we thought it'd be a great idea to do our podcast on la mujer, the woman, and I mean there's several points of that subject to talk about, but I think mostly we want to do is to honor, positively talk about la mujer of what their accomplishments, and women that have an influence on us, that have done great things in this country as well as in the world, and to honor their memory. So I think the first thing we want to do is talk about who was our most influential woman in our lives. And I would ask you, Cuzzo, who was the woman or the one mujer that had a greater or big impact in your life? As far as maybe a role model, or we could say someone politically, or someone that inspired you. Let me rephrase the question, because most of us, usually it is our mother who has made the greatest impact in our lives. But I'll rephrase that as, who was the greatest influence to you, que fue una mujer que te dio la influencia?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, of course, my mom. But because that's such a strong role. But of course, in terms of influence, at first, I think I want to say that I not an immediate name comes forward in terms of a political figure. But I was actually just having this conversation. So two people can come to mind. One of them is an unlikely, maybe a person that I didn't think of at first, and that was a local person here. Maybe. I wonder if she'll watch this.
Do you want me to beep when you say the name?
No. We'll edit it post production. See, we have an editing team.
We apologize, folks. We're on our low budget, so our editing might be a little bit different than what you're used to. So
yeah, no, but the reason is I just was curious because I was having saying this story, and her name is Irma Munoz, who's the executive director and founder of Mujeres, this group called Mujeres de la Tierra. I don't think I've told you about this because
No,
of this
that
story.
sounds very interesting though.
Yeah, it's so there was this woman, that Latina woman that I first learned of when I was at Hill de Bay and working. That was in 2000. I started working there around 2007, so like maybe 8 or 9, over 9 years ago or so. And then, you know, working in an environmental world, sometimes you're surrounded by all these white people, right? And so we were working on a plastic bag ban campaign here in Los Angeles, and I saw Irma Munoz for the first time at a city council here, and I think it was like county board of supervisors or something like that. She was like the only Latina woman that got up there and spoke, and she was a community leader, you know, so she wasn't like an elected official or anything. So maybe that's why like I have a hard time, because like I don't really look at I look at a lot of them as like politicians. I just maybe don't like I don't know, it's harder for me to think of them as role models. But like anyway, so Irma Munoz, yeah, she got up there and she had like a reusable bag, like one of those like bags of the bolsa de mandado. And then she was talking about how, you know, in our communities, we already have that culture of conservation, you know, like that it made sense for us. But she was also raising concerns around, you know, if about plastic bags and the economics of it, as well as, I don't know, she just came from like she wasn't trying to paint like a rosy picture about like getting out of like transitioning off of plastic bags, even though she supported it. But she was raising some concerns, right? And I think that made some of the environmentalists, the white environmentalists, very nervous. And I was part of that you know, the white environmentalist world, you know, when I was doing work as such. And I just noticed just how much power she had. You know, she kind of made people nervous. And she hears that, she probably, I wonder what she'll think about that. But, well, she knows that she's the shit,
Well,
basically.
what's her name again?
Irma Munoz. So anyway, so I fast forward, and I told this story because I was at a Green Latinos gathering. It was a couple of years ago, I think. And
Green Latino?
Green Latinos, yeah,
Was there
national.
not a brown Latino?
No,
Okay, never mind.
it was you're thinking of the brown beret,
Okay, so
which was another topic for
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like Green Latinos, so it was we had a national gathering, and I was asked to introduce Irma, like coincidentally speaking, and so I was like, you know, shit, like I don't even think, I was kind of annoyed because I wasn't given her bio, and like I knew her story already, but I was like, I looked up the website and I was like, well, you know, maybe I'll just read off of the website. But I was like, no, you know what, that's gonna be boring. Like, what, you know, everybody knows, or I don't know. I just thought like I'm just gonna speak from the heart, from what I remember about Irma, right?
Yes, you should.
And
Yeah,
so-
from the heart.
So it was on dinner time, and then I started talking about that story, that when I first met her, and I mentioned how it was the first time that I had seen somebody that talked like me, and somebody that, you know, came from the Latino world, talk about an environmental issue from like a Latino from our perspective, from like
Right.
a perspective like, oh, we're already conservationists, we're already, you know, having our culture, like, you don't need to teach us anything, like we already practice these things. We need to be the deciders, in other words.
Right,
Like we need to
right.
be at the center, rather than being plugged into something for like the sake of like having a brown face, right? And so and that's power. I mean, that's powerful. And
It is.
and so as I'm talking about this, I starts to say like out loud in my words, like, oh, like I didn't even realize, Irma, but you were such a role model to me. In that moment, you blew wide open my perception of what I could be, you know, or where I could, what was possible. And I didn't realize that she had been a role model until that moment when I was introducing to her, you know, I was introducing her to the room. And then she got up and she was all thankful, and, you know, and she gave me a kiss, and she was like, oh, that's really sweet. And like, I could just feel the energy, like the electrifying energy in the room. And then she went up and she started talking about how, you know, when, even then she was another example of being a role model, because she started talking about how in her years of doing this kind of work, oftentimes she's run into situations where white people will tell her how to talk to her community, like because it's not the right way, or because like they think they know better, or because, and then her point would be like, don't ever let them tell you how to talk to your community. Like, I know how to talk to my community, like you know how to talk to your community. And it was really a really good reminder of just for me to kind of, it shook me, like I was like, oh yeah, because I was going through like a period of like questioning myself about whether what I was doing was even the right thing to do, or like, you know, maybe I didn't know better, or like you know, I forget what that thing it was, but that was the general feeling of how I was feeling, right? And so hearing from her, it was like, oh yeah, like I should trust my instincts. I should value what I know and where I come from, and that's the reason why I realized that she was a role model to me, and it was just kind of came up organically. so
Irma,
yeah.
did you hear that?
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Well, if she yeah, I'm sure I'll get to her for somehow, one way or another. So.
That was a very interesting story. And
so what are we, Kaza? Yeah.
Well,
if you wanna, yeah.
I was gonna say La Llorona. She was very influential.
Okay.
Like when, you know, it was like if you need to go to sleep, her influence was, hey, if you don't go to sleep, she's gonna come out. So whether she exists or not, well, I didn't want to find out.
Well,
so
we do need to honor her too.
That's right, right?
Culture. Yeah.
Although, you know, I was wondering, did they have floaties back then? Because if she drowned her kids, you know, like I don't know. Anyways, I just think maybe. Okay, we're going off the subject, right? Anyways, yeah. Well, they're making a movie of they made a movie of La Llorona.
Oh.
It's coming out, and it's a scary movie. But you know that really not gonna scare us, because our parents or our family are the ones that tell the good stories of La Llorona, which could never compare to a movie.
Yeah, I wonder who's gonna be playing, or who played her.
I don't know. They don't really show her face. I was trying to look in the trailers.
She would come close and then like disappears.
Yeah. You know, I was like,
or she turns around and it's the face of an animal or something.
Right. Well, I was wondering did they put a Latina to play La Llorona?
Oh,
did they put a white person? You know, I was trying to figure it out, but I couldn't see. So I was like, damn it! I guess I'm gonna have to go see the movie. So, anyways, well, no. But honestly, to tell you, I think the women that have the most influence on me are the single mom women. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was growing up, my grandma raised me. And she was more like a mom than she was a grandma. I would call her mom. She was single, obviously, and she raised me. And she worked. Sometimes she worked 2 jobs. And, you know, she did the best to raise me against all odds. You know, and she kept me in line. Like, she kept me away from drugs, gangs, and so forth. And then, as well as my real mom, I also have, you know, I have admiration for her as well. Because when I was young, I remember she would work, and she didn't have anyone to take care of me, so she would take me to her job. And you know, I often had to hide, because in a job where she worked, I wasn't allowed by age. So, you know, when the cops or someone would come around and they would just patrol the area, I'd have to go and build like this little fort of alcohol bottles and hide in there until they would, you know, leave, and then I'd come out. And I usually would stay in the kitchen, but my mom at that time, I would see her work, and I remember specifically one time when she was walking, and someone ordered something, and they slapped her in the ass, right? So my mom turned around, and like all of a sudden I just see this head go back of this guy, and you could tell my mom just slapped the shit out of him, and I was like, whoa, shit. You know, she no se dejó, you know?
I can see your mom's doing that.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, you know, I was like, man, my mom no se deja, you know? And then my mom was also had to deal with a lot of domestic abuse, but I remember she always fought back as well. You know, this was when I was like what 4 years old, 5 years old. You know, I still have these images in my head. But she was, just, you know, she's a strong woman, and you know, despite our differences and who I was raised and what the reasons for, and so does not matter to me no more because what matters is that I honor both women, which were single moms that raised one young man, you know, or tried the best to. So my influence, my admiration is for women that are single that raise their children on their own. I have a tremendous admiration for them. Fortunately, it happens too much, and it's you know, a woman can only do so much to raise a young man. It takes a man to raise a man, but it also takes a man to show how we're supposed to treat and respect our women. You know, if we don't, if we're not raising the right men to show respect to our women, then it's just like a cycle, where a never-ending cycle. Our women are not gonna know what what kind of respect they should be given if we're not raising the right man to give them that respect. In a sense, I think. I mean, I think I can. I got the point across. It might, hopefully it's not interpreted bad, but what I'm trying to say is that us men are also responsible for how women are being treated and how they treat themselves. We have to take that responsibility ourselves as well, because if we're not raised right as a man, then how we expect to respect our women? You know, it's like Tupac said it. He put it, we need to be real to our women because they are the ones that gave us they're the ones that gave us the babies that I forgot the song. I mean, I have it in my head. It's just that in the lyrics of that song. But he said it says we need to start being real to our women, and which is we need to start being real to la mujer. You know, and it all goes down to everything. Starts religion, our traditions. I mean, I think sometimes the language that we use when we talk about women also has to do a lot with how they are being respected now. I mean, even in the Bible, it's like Eve was the source of. She gave Adam the apple, so it's her fault.
Right, the downfall.
Downfall is because of her.
Humanity.
You know, like it's like okay, you know, nobody put a gun to his. Well, there was no guns back then, so maybe she's like, you better grab that apple. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously though, I mean, it down falls to that. Like, it starts from there, you know, and like, even when we talk about, you know, was in a relationship, ¿quién usa los pantalones en la relación? Like, who's the one that, well, if you honestly want to speak, women wear pants too, and they wear them good too. So it's not. You know, our mentality has to change. Our language, you know, our traditions, you know. Most in our tradition is la mujer belongs in the kitchen, belongs in the, you know, doing laundry, but women can accomplish a lot more than just that. And that's not just, that shouldn't be their, how do you say, their role, or it's you know, it's
their job.
Their job. It's
well, similar to it reminds me of I saw this meme or somewhere online where it said, you know, women's worth is not dependent on like their relationship to, like, oh, it's because they're like our sister or like our mother or like our wife or whatever, or our cousin or whatever. But like the somebody's worth is independent of that. Like they're not a property of anybody. There's just like you're not a property of somebody. Right. So even in our language, I think, and you're right. Like, it's so ingrained in how we think about things, you know, that we don't even realize sometimes, and how, you know, our programming, it's so embedded into everything. And even when you try, that's why it's so important to be intentional and always, yeah, with the intention of like trying to move beyond that, or like to, you know, what you pass on to the next generation, because
Right.
there's so much to undo of that
Yeah,
programming.
a lot to undo. There's a lot. I mean, it's just the language too. It's like the word itself, woman.
Mm.
You know what it's saying. From what I've understood is that the word woman comes because it comes from the man. The woman came from the womb of the man.
Mm.
So they put the womb man. But in reality, I think it's the other way around. We come from the womb of a woman.
Mm.
You know, they don't come from our womb. We come from their womb, because
Right.
they are the ones that create us, as
Mhm.
well as when we, you know, do that chaka chaka. You know,
Checka checka.
You know,
it's the new app actually that
Really?
Yeah, it was released.
What?
I don't know.
All
It's
right.
like
Hold on. So what is it called again? Okay.
Checka checka. It's La Llorona, somewhere involved in that too.
Hey, if the Llorona single? Hey, oh wait, never mind.
No,
That's
maybe
a
you
little
don't want to go that route.
more. She'll try to drown me.
It's the latest, like, I believe it's the latest foreplay, you know, like,
Oh.
like
Have you actually ever heard her
you know,
in Mexico? 'Cause
no, I don't
mean,
think so, because everybody talks about how,
Okay.
like, you hear her.
Yeah, you hear her.
Yeah.
And,
I did look. Now we're gonna get into Halloween stories.
Oh, shit.
But like I did one time when everything starts like when I was little.
not when I was big.
Yeah, no, when I was big.
It's better than saying that when I was hard, right?
Wait, what? What is that? And then the Llorona appeared. Like, what?
I'm saying it's better to say when you were little.
Oh, okay. So that was. Yeah.